The door of the alien classroom slid open with a sharp hiss, and all at once, the room went silent. Dozens of alien girls turned to look at the new student standing nervously in the doorway. Leo Mercer, the only human boy ever accepted into Solari Academy, felt his stomach twist. He had read about the different species before coming here. Slender, tall Ilarians with glowing fins. The quiet shadow-eyed Dressa. The floating Xanthari with their soft light trails, but no reading could prepare him for this moment. Their stares weren't just curious. They were cold, sharp, and unwelcoming. His translator device buzzed slightly as the languages around him blended into whispers. He stepped forward, shoulders tense, gripping his datapad tightly as if it could protect him. The teacher, an ancient-looking being with a soft blue exoskin and long fingers, gestured for Leo to take an empty seat near the back. As he walked past the rows of alien girls, he heard giggles, murmurs, and a few not-so-subtle clicks that probably meant outsider. But one girl didn't whisper. She didn't turn away. She didn't even blink. She just watched him. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver under the ceiling lights, and her eyes, deep violet with flecks of starlight, were fixed on him with an unreadable intensity. She sat near the corner, silent, unmoving, beautiful, and strange. Leo felt a chill run through him, not from fear, but from something else, something like being seen. He sat down and tried to focus on the lesson. Holograms of star systems floated above their desks, but the alien symbols made little sense to him. Every few minutes, his eyes drifted back to that girl. She still stared at him, head slightly tilted, like she was studying a puzzle. When class ended, the other girls filed out quickly, some glancing back at him with smirks. The silver girl stayed in her seat for a long moment, then stood up slowly and walked away without saying a word. Leo exhaled, not even realizing he'd been holding his breath. The rest of the day wasn't better. The dining hall food smelled like metal and seaweed, and the alien girls took every chance to remind him that he didn't belong. His translator glitched once, making him sound like he was proposing to someone, and the entire table burst into cruel laughter. He kept his head down and ate in silence. He didn't see the silver girl again. That night, unable to sleep, Leo slipped out of his quarters and wandered through the Academy's garden dome. It was quiet, filled with glowing plants and soft wind sounds. He sat beside a pool of blue water, feeling the weight of the stars above him and the loneliness in his chest. He had wanted to be part of something greater, to prove humans could stand with the best minds in the galaxy. But here, he was nothing but a strange boy from a backward world. Then he heard a soft voice behind him. "You are loud, even when you say nothing." He turned quickly. She stood there silver-skinned, eyes bright in the starlight. Her voice was calm, musical, like wind through chimes. "You do not belong here, but that does not mean you are not meant to be here." Leo blinked. "You've been watching me." "Yes," she said simply. "Your presence disturbs the rhythm. It pulls on threads I cannot see." He didn't know what that meant, but her tone wasn't mocking. It was curious, almost gentle. "I'm Leo," he said, standing up slowly. "I know," she replied. "I am Solari." They stood there, two strangers from different stars, the silence between them deep but not uncomfortable. For the first time since he arrived, Leo didn't feel like running. There was something in her gaze, not just interest, but recognition. Like she had been waiting for him before he ever walked into that classroom. "I'm not trying to cause problems," he said. "I just want to learn." She looked at the stars above the garden dome. "So do I." They didn't speak much more. She turned and left, her movements smooth like flowing water. But before she disappeared into the path of glowing trees, she looked back at him once. That night, Leo couldn't sleep again, Not because he felt alone, but because he felt seen. Something had shifted, and deep inside, he wondered what Solari had meant when she said he pulled on threads. She could not see Dot. He had no idea that the thread had already begun to pull them, both toward something neither of them could escape. Asterisk Leo. Didn't see her in class the next day. Solari's seat in the corner was empty. The other girls barely noticed. They still whispered and laughed whenever Leo answered a question or made a mistake with the alien tools. One of them sent him a message through the holoscreen. Still lost, little Earth boy? He ignored it. He didn't care anymore. His thoughts were on the girl with silver skin and starlight eyes. After class, he walked through the halls alone, pretending to read his datapad, but he was listening, hoping to hear her voice again. Nothing that evening. As the lights dimmed and the academy settled into quiet hums, Leo found himself walking back to the garden dome. He didn't plan to. His feet just took him there. Dot. The soft lights of the alien plants glowed like stars. The air smelled like rain and something sweet. And then he heard it again, her voice, behind him. You came back. Leo turned slowly. Solari stood by a tall, glowing tree. Her skin shimmered softly under the light. I hoped you would, she said. He smiled carefully. I wasn't sure you would be here. I wasn't either, she said, but I wanted to understand. Understand what? You, she said simply. They sat near the same pool as before. Silence filled the space between them again, but this time it felt warm, like a blanket instead of a wall. I don't know why you're watching me, Leo said, breaking the silence. Everyone else wants me gone. You just stare. Solari's eyes met his. Because you glow. Leo laughed nervously. Glow? You mean I'm red from embarrassment? She tilted her head. Not your skin, your energy, your thoughts, your emotions. I can feel them. All Lunari can sense life energy. But yours is different. It's louder, brighter. You don't hide your heart like others do. Leo blinked. I didn't know I had that problem. It is not a problem, she said. It is rare. Leo looked down at the water. I didn't ask to be rare. I just wanted to fit in. You cannot fit into a world not shaped for you, she said. But that does not mean the world cannot change. He looked at her carefully now, studying her face, her calm expression. Is that what you want? To change this place? She didn't answer. Instead, she stood and reached out her hand. Hesitating, Leo took it. Her skin was cool, soft, but a current ran through it, like a gentle hum. As their fingers touched, a flash of something moved through Leo's mind images, feelings not his own. He let go quickly, stepping back. What was that? Solari lowered her hand. A piece of me, a piece of the bond. What bond? She looked away. I don't know. Not yet. But I think something is beginning. Before Leo could respond, a noise behind them made them both freeze. Someone was watching. From the shadows near the path, a figure stepped out. It was Kirith, a tall, horned girl from the Zevra species. Her eyes glowed red in the dim light. Well, well, she said coldly. So this is what you do at night? Earth boy? Making friends with a Lunari trader? Go away, Leo said, his voice low. Kirith stepped closer. She doesn't belong with you. And neither do you belong here. You think just because she watches you, it means something? Lunari are unstable, emotional, dangerous, you'll see. Kirith, leave, Solari said calmly. Or what? Kirith growled. You'll hum at me until I faint? But Solari didn't rise to the insult. She turned her eyes back to Leo. We should go. As they left, Kirith called out, Stay away from her, human. She'll ruin you. Later that night, Leo sat alone in his room, staring at the wall. He couldn't Stop thinking about the flash of images he'd seen when he touched Solari's hand. A forest of silver trees. A sky full of moons. A feeling of longing so deep it felt like drowning. And more than that, he had felt her. Emotions. Curiosity. Sadness. Hope. And something else just beneath the surface. Something like fear. Was Solari afraid of him? Or of what was happening between them? He closed his eyes, and for just a second, he swore he could hear her voice, gentle and distant. You glow differently. And somewhere inside him, something answered, but far across the academy, in a chamber filled with silent watchers and glowing data feeds. A tall figure in dark robes studied a screen, showing Leo and Solari in the garden. The figure turned to the shadows and whispered, "It has begun." Asterisk. The next morning, everything felt different. Leo stepped into the classroom, expecting another cold day of stares and whispers. But the air had changed. Some girls looked at him with narrowed eyes, others with hidden curiosity. Kirith sat with her arms crossed, her sharp eyes locked on Solari, who was back in her seat, calm and still as always. But Leo could tell she was tense. Her fingers twitched slightly, and her breathing was deeper than usual. Class began with a combat simulation. Leo didn't like these. He wasn't trained in alien martial arts. His Earth reflexes didn't match the speed of zebra claws or lunari movements. But the academy forced all students to learn defense, and today's drill was one-on-one sparring. When his name appeared on the holoboard, Leo's heart sank. His opponent was Kirith. The class gathered in a circle around the training mat. The instructor gave a nod. Kirith stepped forward, tall and graceful, her horns glinting under the lights. Leo raised his hands, trying to remember the basic blocks they taught in week 1. Kirith didn't wait. She lunged fast, knocking him to the ground in seconds. The students laughed. The instructor said nothing. Leo got up, his lip bleeding. She hit him again, and again. Not hard enough to break bones, but hard enough to humiliate. Each time he stood, she knocked him down. "Fight back," she growled. "Or go back to your dirt world." "I didn't come here to fight you," Leo muttered, wiping blood from his mouth. "But you did come," she snapped. "And now everyone suffers your presence." One final blow sent him crashing to the floor. The wind knocked from his chest. That's when Solari moved. She stood slowly, her silver skin glowing faintly. The light in her eyes was brighter than before. She walked into the ring, ignoring the instructor's protest. "Enough," she said softly. Kirith scoffed. "This is not your match." "He is bound to me," Solari said, her voice like wind and thunder. "You hurt him. You hurt me." Everyone froze. Even the instructor looked uneasy. "What did you say?" Solari knelt beside Leo and placed her palm on his forehead. In that moment, everything disappeared. The pain, the noise, the crowd. Leo felt warmth rush through his body. His cuts vanished. His breath returned. His mind went quiet. Her hand glowed faint blue, and something inside him lit up like a hidden switch being flipped. When her hand left his skin, his chest rose sharply. He gasped, like he had just come out of deep water. The class was silent. Kirith stared, furious. "You used lunari binding. That's illegal. That's sacred." Solari stood. "I did what I had to." He would have collapsed. "I couldn't let that happen." "You bonded with a human," Kirith shouted. "Do you know what you've done?" The instructor ended the class early, pulling Kirith aside. The others left in confused silence. Leo sat on the mat, breathing slowly. "What just happened?" Solari helped him up. Her voice was soft. "I connected to your energy and gave you strength from mine. You healed me." She nodded. "But the connection goes both ways now. I feel what you feel. See what you see. I did not mean to bind this deep, but I couldn't stop it. Leo looked at her carefully. Are we connected forever? Not yet, she said, but the bond has started, and it will grow. That night, Leo sat in his room, staring at his reflection. His eyes looked normal. His skin felt normal. But he wasn't the same. He could feel Celari's presence in his chest, like a gentle hum. When he closed his eyes, he saw flashes of her memories, maybe. Her home, her people, her fear, her longing. He wondered if she could see into him the same way. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the building. Red lights flashed. A cold, robotic voice rang out. Unauthorized energy signature detected. Possible psychic breach. Contain. The anomaly. Leo's heart stopped. He looked out the window and saw security drones flying toward the garden dome. They were coming. He opened his door and ran, down the hallway, past the lecture rooms, through the glowing bridge. He reached the garden just as the first drone fired a net of blue energy across the trees. Celari stood in the center of the garden, glowing brighter than ever, her eyes closed, her body trembling. Celari! Leo shouted. She opened her eyes. Leo, I can't control it. The bond, it's pulling everything in me out. 2 drones turned to him. Human subject detected. Contain the source. Leo didn't hesitate. He ran to her, grabbing her hand just as the drones fired again. A blast of light surrounded them both. And in that instant, everything changed. The bond didn't just glow. It exploded. Asterisk, the explosion of light pushed everything. Back the trees, the drones, even the walls of the garden dome groaned as if the energy had shaken their very roots. When the light faded, Leo found himself on the ground with Celari beside him. She was breathing hard, her eyes wide with fear, her skin still glowing faintly. Around them, the 2 drones sparked and sputtered on the grass, their systems fried. Alarms. Screamed louder now. Leo, Celari whispered, her voice weak. They will not let this go. You have to leave. Now. Leo shook his head. I'm not leaving you. They will take you, she said. Study you. Use you. The bond... It's not just between us now. They felt it. Everyone did. The ground beneath them rumbled as footsteps echoed through the garden entrance. A group of security officers in black armor rushed in with weapons. Drawn. There, one of them shouted. Step away from her, human. Leo stood in front of Celari, arms raised. Don't touch her. But it was no use. One officer pointed a shock lance at Leo's chest. Just before it fired, a gust of wind blew through the garden. The lights flickered. Then something happened Leo didn't understand. Celari's eyes glowed silver, and the shadows around them bent and stretched. The wind whispered in a language only she knew, and in the next breath, they were gone. The garden was empty. Leo blinked. They now stood in a narrow tunnel beneath the academy, the stone walls humming softly with old energy. Celari leaned against him, trembling. Where are we? He asked. She swallowed. An old path. My ancestors built it long ago. It leads below, somewhere safe. Leo helped her walk. The path was dark and twisting, but small glowing crystals lit the way. Every step echoed with the sound of secrets. The air felt ancient, heavy with stories. Leo had so many questions, but he stayed silent. Celari looked too tired, too fragile. Finally, they entered a wide chamber carved into the rock. The walls were covered in symbols, spirals, stars, hands reaching for other hands. At the center stood a cracked stone altar. Celari touched it gently. This was a place of joining. Long ago, before fear took over, our kind welcomed outsiders. Even humans. They believed hearts could cross species. Souls could merge. Leo stepped beside her. And now? Now, she said quietly. They are afraid. They teach silence. Control. But what we did, what we felt, it woke the old ways. Leo reached out, taking her hand. I don't care what they say. I felt it too. When you touched me, it wasn't just healing. It was like you saw everything I was. She looked at him, her expression full of sadness. That's why they're afraid. Because something real like that changes things. Outside the tunnels, the academy had gone into lockdown. Kirith stood in the command chamber with the headmistress and several guards. They vanished, one officer reported. Sailari. Used Forbidden's Lunari pathways. We've lost them. Kirith slammed her fist on the console. Then send in the hunters. If we can't find them, we flush them out. Back in the chamber, Sailari sat on the altar stone, her hands shaking. Bond is unstable, she said. I didn't mean to go this far. I only wanted to help you. But now I see your dreams. I hear your voice even when you sleep. Leo sat beside her. And I see you too. I feel your heartbeat when mine races. I dream of places I've never been. She turned to him. We are already halfway joined. Then, what happens if we complete it? He asked. Her eyes met his. It becomes forever. Leo was quiet. The idea was both terrifying and beautiful. To be bonded for life, not just in feeling, but in thought, in spirit. He barely knew her. And yet, he felt like she was already part of him. Suddenly, a loud humming filled the chamber. The stones trembled. They found us, Sailari whispered from the upper tunnel. Search drones poured in, lights scanning, weapons primed. Leo grabbed Sailari's hand and pulled her behind the altar. What do we do? He asked, breathless. Sailari's voice was calm. We run. They dashed through the lower exit of the chamber, the tunnel getting narrower. Behind them, the drones followed, blasting warnings in metallic voices. The air grew hotter as they ran, until finally they burst into a hidden cavern open and wide. Lit by a crystal sky. It was the old city ruins of a Lunari civilization, buried deep below the academy. Buildings twisted like vines, fountains floated in air, and soft light drifted through cracks above. Leo stared in awe. This is real? Yes, Sailari said. And it's the only place they can't reach. He turned to her. Then we make our stand here. But even as they caught their breath, Sailari's knees buckled. She fell into his arms, her skin flickering like fading light. Sailari. Leo shouted. Her voice was faint. The bond, it's too strong. I gave too much. I can't hold it. Leo held her tighter, heart pounding. What do I do? He whispered. Her eyes fluttered open. Complete it, she said weakly. It's the only way now. And then her glow dimmed further. Asterisk. Leo held Sailari in his arms, heart racing, panic growing. Her skin had lost its glow. Her breathing was shallow, her silver eyes only half open. Around them, the crystal-lit ruins of the ancient Lunari city stood still and silent, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Sailari, he whispered, brushing the hair from her face. Stay with me. She barely moved. Her voice was soft, broken. The bond. I gave you too much? I didn't mean to. Don't talk, he said quickly. Just hold on. We'll find help. No, she said, shaking her head slowly. There's no time. Leo looked around helplessly. No drones, no academy guards. Just the floating ruins and the faint hum of old energy. Then tell me what to do, he said. Anything. I'll do it. Sailari tried to speak, but her lips trembled. Instead, she reached for a pendant around her neck, a small glowing shard shaped like a crescent. She pressed it into his hand. This is the key to the right, she said. The joining. It must be given willingly. You must mean it. Leo stared at the pendant, confused and terrified. I don't understand. It's not about understanding, she whispered. It's about feeling. Let your heart speak. Open it to me. He looked down at her, this alien girl who had once only stared at him from across a room. Now she was part of him, in ways deeper than thought, deeper than fear. He could feel her pain, her fading light, and her hope. She had trusted him. He closed his eyes and held the pendant close to his chest. The shard grew warm in his hands. Then it pulsed once, twice, and began to glow. A circle of light spread beneath them, symbols appearing across the stone floor. The ancient Lunari language, drawn in soft blue fire. Selari opened her eyes a little wider, barely holding on. Leo knelt down, holding her hand with both of his. I don't know your rituals, he said quietly. I don't know the words. But I know this. I don't want a world without you. In it, I don't care what they say, what species we are, what rules we break. If the only way to save you is to bond forever, then take everything I have, everything I am. A beam of light rose from the pendant, surrounding them both. Then Silari gasped, her body arching as the light poured into her chest, flowing through Leo's hands like electricity, but soft, warm. Her silver skin shimmered once again. Her breathing deepened. Her eyes filled with light. Their hands remained locked, and in that moment, Leo felt it all. Her childhood memories playing under moons with her siblings, her loneliness at the academy, the dreams she never spoke aloud. He saw how she watched him, not because he was strange, but because he was real, unguarded, emotional, human. At the same time, Selari felt Leo's pain, his fear of failure, of being small, of being unwanted in a galaxy so big. She saw his hope, his strength, his loyalty, his longing for something true. Their thoughts merged, their hearts aligned. The circle of light lifted them into the air as crystal vines rose from the floor, wrapping around their arms gently, sealing the ritual. Then, slowly, the light faded. Leo found himself back on the ground, still holding Celari's hand. But she was different now. Alive, glowing, whole. She opened her eyes, really smiled for the first time. You did it, she whispered. You chose me. Leo laughed, half in disbelief, half in relief. Of course I did. They stood slowly, looking at the light that still shimmered around them. The bond was no longer wild or painful. It felt like a steady flame between them, always warm, always present, far above them. Back in the Academy's command room, the headmistress stared at a glowing monitor with wide eyes. There was a full joining. One of the guards whispered, a human and a Lunari. Complete, stable. Kirith, standing in the shadows, looked away. Her jaw clenched. The headmistress sighed. This changes everything. Back in the ruins, Selari touched her chest. We should go. They'll be watching. Let them, Leo said. They'll see something new now. They made their way back through the tunnels, walking hand in hand. Wherever they stepped, the lights in the walls glowed softly, responding to the bond, as if the ruins themselves welcomed them. When they emerged at the Academy gates, guards stood waiting, but none moved. Behind them, teachers, students, even KREDH. Leo stood tall. Solari beside him. We didn't break anything, Leo said calmly. We just proved it's possible. No one spoke for a long moment. Then, finally, the headmistress stepped forward and lowered her weapon. Perhaps, she said slowly, it is time we stopped being afraid. Asterisk, the Academy had never been this quiet. The sun rose over the crystal towers, but there were no morning drills, no lectures, no voices echoing through the halls. Everyone was gathered near the main courtyard, teachers, students, guards, even the council elders. And at the center of it all stood two figures, Leo Mercer, the first human ever accepted into Solari Academy, and Solari, the Lunari girl who had once sat in silence and watched him like he was a question waiting to be answered. Now they stood side by side, hands lightly touching, glowing with the bond that had changed everything. The headmistress stepped forward, her long robes swaying with each careful step. She looked tired, older than before. "What you two have done," she said, "has never been seen in our lifetime. A full joining between a human and a Lunari. It was thought impossible. Dangerous." Leo met her eyes. "It was dangerous. We were hunted, blamed, almost broken." Solari nodded. "Because fear rules this place." The courtyard stayed silent. Then, the headmistress surprised them. She turned to the crowd and said that they were not wrong to try. Murmurs rose. Kirith stepped forward, her sharp eyes still guarded. "You're saying we just accept this? A human soul inside one of our own?" "No," said the headmistress. "I'm saying we learn from it." She looked at Leo again. "You came here as a stranger. You were mocked, pushed, hurt. And yet, you stayed. Why?" Leo took a breath. "Because I believed there was something more than fear, and I found it in her." Solari's eyes glistened. She stepped in front of the crowd, her voice clear. "You all say Lunari must remain distant, emotionless. That bonding across species is forbidden. But that law was born from pain, not truth. This bond, it's not broken. It's whole." Then she held up her hand, and the soft light of the bond pulsed between her fingers. "And it's beautiful." For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence felt heavy, but not cold. It was the kind of silence that came before something new. Kirith stared at Leo, her expression unreadable. Finally, she sighed. "He still fights like a broken droid," she muttered. "But he's not weak." Leo smiled a little. "I'll take that as a compliment." Then something surprising happened. One of the younger alien girls stepped forward, blue-skinned, nervous, and asked, Can bonds like this happen to others too?" And just like that, the crowd shifted. Questions flowed. Eyes opened. The fear didn't vanish, but it cracked just enough for hope to slip through. Weeks passed. Leo and Solari became the center of a quiet movement. The Academy allowed interspecies classes to study emotion, energy, and connection. No one was forced to bond, but no one was punished for being curious either. The old laws weren't erased, but they were questioned. One day, Solari took Leo back to the garden dome, the same spot where she had first spoken to him. The trees glowed softly. The pool still shimmered, but this time there was no hiding, no fear. She rested her head on his shoulder. "I used to watch you," she said, smiling, "because you glowed. You were different." Leo looked at her, brushing a strand of silver hair behind her ear. "And I used to think you were just quiet, mysterious, but you were listening, seeing things I didn't even see in myself." She touched his chest. "I still do." He took her hand. "So what now? We just stay here forever?" "No," she said. "We build something new, together." And that's exactly what they did. They helped design new programs for the Academy, ones that taught empathy, not just logic. Understanding, not just strength. They gave talks, answered questions, faced harsh words and doubtful stares. But they never stopped, because the bond was more than a light between two hands. It was a bridge, between species, between hearts, between two souls that weren't supposed to meet, but did anyway. And in a galaxy full of rules and fear and cold science, that bond was the most magical thing of all. On the last night before graduation, they sat under the stars, watching the moons rise. "You still glow," Solari whispered. Leo laughed. "So do you." And as they looked into each other's eyes, the bond pulsed gently silent, eternal, and full of promise. Because once, they were strangers in a classroom. Now, they were the start of something that would change the galaxy forever. Asterisk. The end.